Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WST Post-Game reaction. My name is Connor Hrabchak, soon to be joined for the first time this season by Michael Remis, and together we're going to be breaking down the Winnipeg Jets' 5-2 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. It's their third straight win. Their first three-game winning streak of the season comes in game number 4, and they close out their two-game road trip with back-to-back wins over the Islanders and the Flyers. So like I said, for the first time this season, let's bring him in. Michael Remis from Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Michael, thank you for joining me on the post-game show. What are your kind of initial takeaways here on the post-game reaction from that win for the Jets?
Yeah, Winnipeg Jets, pretty good team, Connor. You know, we can talk about the injuries they have with Dylan Samberg and Cole Perfetti losing Nikolai Ehlers, but we're learning more and more about the guys they brought in, and Gus Nyquist and Tanner Pearson and Jonathan Toews as well. And the Winnipeg Jets, came into Philadelphia against a team that's projected to be lesser than them in the standings. They're favored to win, and they came out and played their game, did their job, and collected the 2 points. And this mini road trip, and they're going home. So I think you have to be pretty impressed with what you've seen. I think they're improving every game here, and they went in and got the 2 points against Philadelphia, and they're off to a pretty good start here with a 3-game win streak.
Yeah, and you and I were texting at the end of the second period, and it remains true at the end of the game that this was a pretty low event game. And I think that's how the Jets want to play right now, not having Cole Perfetti, not having Adam Lowry, not having Dylan Samberg, who would maybe even help towards that defensive shutdown style, the last two players in Lowry and Samberg. But I will say, this was an incredibly low event game, and when Connor Hellebuyck only has to make 15 saves, that's a pretty good recipe for success for the Winnipeg Jets. So let's run through the game a little bit here. Mark Scheifele, I thought, was the Winnipeg Jets' best player on this night. I don't know about you, Remo, but 2 goals, your standout stat of the game. We'll get to it a little bit later on. But Mark Scheifele, at least to start the season, looks like he's on an absolute mission here. Already has 5 goals in his first 4 games here and 8 points to start the season. He is red hot, as well as Morgan Barron, who scored in this game as well. He's red hot as well. So just a quick note on the 2 offensive performers for Winnipeg, the biggest ones in Scheifele and Barron.
Yeah, Morgan Barron's his numbers really impressed me to start this year. He's on the 4th line. He doesn't get power play minutes, and there he is scoring again. A bit of a weird goal with a double deflection, but it counts the same. It was a really nice pass by Kyle Connor to find him in the high slot. He gets a shot off. It does bounce off 2 Philadelphia defenders and goes in, but doesn't change the fact that Morgan Barron, he's been producing. And you're wondering, okay, behind that top line, who's going to be the offensive contributors? And in the last 2 games, they haven't necessarily needed, or they've got contributions from everyone. And yeah, you look at the goal visualizer there, a beautiful pass from Kyle Connor, very similar to the one he made to Mark Scheifele on the 4th goal. But Morgan Barron gets the shot off, and it bounces off 2 guys and goes back in. So Morgan Barron off to a great start, and Mark Scheifele as well. He had the Team Canada snub last year. Maybe had a bit of a slow start, not this year. Very hot right now, Mark Scheifele, and we're going to be hearing his name in Team Canada a lot more as we get close to the time where they have to announce the roster. But for the Winnipeg Jets, if they're going to have success, they do need their top guys to be the top guys without adjusting with life after Nikolai Ehlers. We're going to be talking about that for the first month of the year, and losing Cole Perfetti, you are missing some of that scoring touch that you've had. But Mark Scheifele, beautiful snipe on the 1st goal, and again, Kyle Connor finding him for that one-timer to ice the game later on. So you have to like what you saw from those 2 players.
Yeah, and looking at the rest of the forward core as well, you had Parker Ford slot into the lineup for his first game of the season. You had Tanner Pearson, go from the 4th line up to the 2nd line alongside Iafallo and Jonathan Toews. And on that goal that we were showing there, wasn't really sure if it went off of Parker Ford and in, but Morgan Barron is red hot. It went off the backside of a Philadelphia Flyers defenseman and in. But the 4th line, I thought, played really well. Cole Koepke, Morgan Barron, and Parker Ford. Ford obviously slotting in for his first game of the season. What did you think, Remo, of the changes coming into the game and how that kind of worked in the Jets' favor in the bottom 9 with Pearson sliding up and then Parker Ford making his season debut?
Yeah, very veteran middle 6 there with Pearson, Toews, and Nyquist, Iafallo, Niederreiter, Nemestikov. And you saw that tonight. And Pearson, I think he's been a nice addition to the team. He gets rewarded with some play on the second line. Chibrikov, in his first couple of games, the NHL, he was like first 4 games, like a point per game guy. Hadn't really hit the score sheet this year. Give him a breather, put it in Parker Ford. The Jets don't want any of their players to be sitting there for a long time. Parker Ford had a nice preseason. Didn't really mind the change at all. And the thing about these 4 lines, they seem to all play the same way, and they were all on the same page tonight, coming in and really shutting down the Philadelphia Flyers offense, especially in that third period. And the key moment was, very similar to the game against the Islanders, where the score, it's a 1-goal game, and they go right back down the ice and make it a 2-goal game right after. And the Jets really shut the door in the third period. So the changes, I don't think it was a significant change, but getting Parker Ford in and bumping up Tanner Pearson, I think he's been good, and he hit the score sheet tonight with the big empty netter.
Yeah, and the fourth line, no matter who's been on it really so far this season, it's been very productive for the Winnipeg Jets. And this game, and you brought up the goal, and we showed the goal visualizer, Morgan Barron getting on the score sheet, kind of a lucky one, but the timing of that goal was so key. Philadelphia just scored their first goal of the game to make it 2-1 late in the second period, and we thought we were all headed towards a third period with the Winnipeg Jets only up by 1. But late in the second period, 2.5 minutes remaining, Morgan Barron scores that goal on a really nice shift where the fourth line kept the puck in. And as we said earlier, Morgan Barron kind of got lucky with the shot, but he's red hot and everything's going in right now. The last goal that I want to talk about gave the Jets some breathing room here in the third period was Mark Scheifele, his second of the game, his 5th of the season. And it was an absolute snipe on the power play. And Kyle Connor fed him this puck through the seam there. You can see kind of the penalty kill open up for the Flyers, and they forget about Mark Scheifele, who, like I said, is on an absolute mission. I thought this was one of his better games this season. The one against LA maybe was a little bit better, but you can see kind of the pop pass to Aya follow there, and the puck go back to Kyle Connor, and the penalty kill really follow every other option on the ice except for Mark Scheifele. And Scheifele, when he puts his mind to it, when he shoots the puck, when he one-times pucks, he has one of the best shots on the team. So Mark Scheifele, a big goal there, and big for the power play, Remo, to get on the board here, because the penalty kill had been kind of carrying to start the season, but it was the power play in this game that got this insurance marker late.
Yeah, special teams been very big for the Winnipeg Jets on the penalty kill. We saw that on Monday, and you saw that again tonight, but it was the power play that hadn't scored, at least that first power play. We did see a goal from power play 2 earlier, and again, power play, you don't have Cole Perfetti, you don't have Nikolai Ehlers, and there's Alex Iafallo playing in the middle. Some nice passing, and you saw in that goal visualizer how hard Kyle Connor whipped the pass over to Mark Scheifele on the dot. Reminds me of how Blake Wheeler used to set up Patrick Laine all the time, but different handedness there from Connor to Wheeler, but Mark Scheifele still a right-hand shot, wiring the one-timer. You don't see him get the one-timer off that often, but he did right there and put it back past the Flyers goalie. And the third period, when they finally got that first power play of the game, really took advantage there to make it a 4-1 game. And, put some distance, and the Jets were able to lock it down in the third period, limiting shots, keeping Philadelphia to the outside. A pretty quiet night for Connor Hellebuyck, only 17 shots against. If you're going to do that, allow less than 20 shots, he's going to save a lot of them. And, the first line, Kyle Connor with 2 assists, Mark Scheifele, 2 goals. I don't want to say carried them, but led them, propelled them to the victory. And it was, credit to Nemestikov, who, got them off to the start with the first goal of the game. Nice play from Gus Nyquist down low to Niederreiter, using the big body, similar to how Gabe Vilardi does on the power play, but credit to Nemestikov going to the net. So, the top 2 lines, where's that the third? The third line's getting in action here. And credit to the Jets. I felt like a very business-like effort. They know how to take care of the teams below them in the standings. I like to see them get another shot against a team like Dallas, or we'll see how they stack up against a team like Colorado. They got Nashville up next on Saturday. But hey, you got to win. Win the games you're supposed to, and the Jets were so good at doing that the last couple of years. and they did it again here tonight in Philadelphia.
And for them to do it without Samberg and Lowry and Perfetti, I think means more than it did last season when they were at full strength for the majority of the season, right? And here are some of the numbers from the game. The shots on goal, like I said, very low event, 17-15. I'll have more on the shots on goal in my standout stat later. But yeah, like incredibly low event. The expected goals, each team was under 3. You don't see that very often either. 2.64 for Winnipeg, 1.91 for Philly. Scoring chances, 20-18, pretty even. And then the power play came through for Winnipeg, 1 for 3, and Philly 0 for 3 with their man advantage. So pretty low event outing out in Philadelphia as the Winnipeg Jets win their 3rd straight game, improve to 3-1 on the season, and do it on the backs of Mark Scheifele and their defense core. Just before we move on to our segments, we've got the hardest working Jet and our standout stat of the game. Remis, there was a change on the defense core as well. Hayden Fleury missed the game on Monday afternoon, and slotted back into the lineup on the 3rd pair alongside Luke Shen. Logan Stanley stayed on the 2nd pair with Neil Pionk, and then obviously Morrissey and DeMello locked down the 1st pair. I mean, 17 shots against, under 2 expected goals against, only 18 scoring chances. What did you think of the defense core in this game? And Logan Stanley up on the 2nd pair and Hayden Fleury getting back in the lineup on the 3rd pair.
Yeah, you look at all the shot attempt differential here. Fleury and Shen playing .952 together at 5-on-5, 7-4, 4 against shot attempts. Stanley Pionk was even at 5-on-5 in shot attempts, 4 against. Morrissey DeMello was 12-8 in their favor. And yeah, you talk about low event. I mean, in the first period, 8 shots total, 5 for the Jets, 3 for the Flyers. There wasn't a lot going on, and I think that played into the Jets' favor. You know, they've got those elite shots like Mark Scheifele, like Kyle Connor, and they got opportunities, took advantage of them, and were able to squeeze the Flyers in the 3rd period. So have to be satisfied with the performance. Hayden Fleury coming back, you know, he's been solid. I think consistency with this defense, with the changes, that's something to watch for going forward, but you have to be happy with the performance tonight in the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Jets have slowly but surely, and we've talked about this after every single post game, they've slowly but surely been getting to that defensive structure that made them so good last year, despite not having their best shutdown forward in Adam Lowry and their best shutdown defenseman in Dylan Samberg. They're getting to it. I mean, 17 shots against in a game on the road. And both of these games too, New York and Philly, these are traditionally places where the Jets have struggled on the road in the past. Like those Eastern Conference road trips are usually killer for the Jets, and they just find a way, Remis. They're finding a way right now. It's pretty impressive.
Hey, did they say on the broadcast that it was Hellebuck's first win
in Philly,
in Philadelphia, which was a surprise, but maybe not, because if Philadelphia hasn't been very good, so they would just play the backup there. But he's been in the league for a long time, and yeah, and it was the Jets' first win in, you know, at the New York Islanders. They have played in Brooklyn for a bit. Was since 2019? Is that what it was? Last game. So, I mean, the Jets have been pretty good the last couple seasons here, and I guess you only get 1 shot per year at either of those. So, but still, you know, it speaks to the lack of success that they've had on the road. I know they've definitely had some tough games against the Islanders, home and away lately, and the Flyers as well. They mentioned when the Flyers came into Winnipeg last year and beat the Jets. So they went and took care of business, as we said throughout this post-game reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And just doing a quick count here, from 2013 to 2023, the Jets lost 9 straight games in Philly, and then snapped that with a 5-3 win in 2023. They lost in 2024 4-1. They won last year. That was March 6th. That says right before the trade deadline, a 4-1 win. And then obviously tonight, a 5-2 win. So maybe they're changing their fortune out on the East Coast a little bit, which has usually been a road trip that they've really struggled with in the past number of years. Let's get to our segments. The Jets with a 5-2 win. Let's get to the hardest working Jet, and then a little bit later on, our standout stat of the game. But first, this is the hardest working Jet.
The hardest working Jet.
the hardest working Jet of the game. This is our player of the game award, our hard hat, if you will. The Jets do the jackets after every single one of their wins. This is a bit of an unsung hero award. You can kind of take it whatever way you want. And if you're enjoying the video so far, leave your pick for the hardest working Jet from tonight's game in the comments down below. And while you're down there, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss all of the post-game reactions that we will have for you throughout the regular season. Remo, it's your first time on the WST post-game reaction this season. I'll let you go first. Who's your hardest working Jet from tonight's win?
Well, you said unsung hero.
Well, it can be whatever.
I was going to say Mark Scheifele.
Yeah.
There he had the two goals. Big night for him. The nice wrister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Jets needed his performance. I was going to say Mark Scheifele. Want me to go more unsung? I really like what we've seen from Gus Nyquist. Were you going to say him?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
No, I have a different one. You can take that. No, you're good.
Gus Nyquist, his on ice shot differential, 10-5.
Mm-hmm.
He had the great play on the boards to help set up that first goal. He's looked pretty good in a Jets uniform his first couple of games. He's got on the score sheet. So I'll say Mark Scheifele, but I'll give Gus, the new Gus, a shout out as the original Gus, David Gustafsson, now with the Manitoba Moose.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I love it. Gustav Nyquist was on my list, but he wasn't number one. I'm going to take Parker Ford. And because I said unsung hero, maybe I'll go a little bit further down the lineup. I'll take Parker Ford. He got into his first game, and I thought you could give this award to really anyone on that fourth line. Koepke, Barron, and Ford, they had a number of extended offensive zone shifts where they were just winning the puck back over and over again against this Flyers defense. And clearly the Jets thought that was a sustainable formula throughout this game, and they got to it early, and it worked. The fourth line played low event hockey. They played keep away in the offensive zone. They only allowed 2 scoring chances against, 1 high danger chance against in their minutes at 5-on-5 on the ice. Only 3 shot attempts against when they were on the ice too. So that's a reliable, defensively responsible fourth line that Scott O'Neill can throw out there. And I thought Parker Ford fit right in with what those players on the fourth line are trying to do. And that's get the puck deep, keep it away from the opponent, win the puck back on the forecheck. And Parker Ford in his minutes got right to that in this game. So I'm going to take him for my hardest working Jet from the Jets 5-2 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. And Remis, let's get right into our very next segment. Liz made this very beautiful graphic for us on the WST post-game reaction.
Peter Parker sunglasses?
Look at the glasses. I know, it's sweet. Our standout stat of the game. So we have the hardest working Jet, a little bit more of an eye test award, who stood out for us. But as we know, we like to crunch the numbers a little bit as well. So let's get to our standout stat. And Remis, I know you have a good one that the Jets were putting out on social. So I'll tee you up for this one first. What was your standout stat of the game?
Sure, maybe not just from the game, but I'll have with this stat from the game.
Sure.
And then I'll give the one that I was going to say. I think you got to be really impressed with the time on ice distribution from this game.
Nice.
That fourth line, Morgan Barron playing 11-18, Parker Ford, the low among forwards, 10-55. And even on defense, the low was Hayden Fleury at 14-59. So everyone really had a piece of this one. You didn't see that, classic Winnipeg Jets of old where the fourth line would get like 5 minutes and, the third D pair would get 8 and 9 minutes. Everyone, having a huge part of this game and really even ice time distribution. But if you wanted to talk about standout stat in terms of all time, how about Mark Scheifele? 812 points in a Winnipeg Jets uniform, tying Blake Wheeler for the franchise record. That is Winnipeg Jets 2.0 and the Atlanta Thrashers. But 812 points. Mark Scheifele, the first ever draft pick of the organization. Scott O'Neill saying after the game that he's lived up to all of it. I couldn't agree more. It was pretty, what an incredible career he's had. He signed the long-term deal. What was it, 2 years ago now? He's going to be here for a long time. A lot of 55 jerseys out there. And how fitting is it for him, the first draft pick, to now be tied with Blake Wheeler, a guy who he looked up to when he came into the league for points in franchise. He could pass that on Saturday at home. I'm sure they would. I don't know, would they stop the game or they would show something on the screen for sure. I know he has talked about actually chasing Dale Hrabchak. We can get into that on a future show. But for now, this is the franchise record, what the NHL record book goes by. And Mark Scheifele tied with Blake Wheeler. Pretty pretty awesome stuff that we're seeing here. And he could be the first guy in a Jets jersey to record 1,000 points. We're a couple of years, a year or two away from that. Well, probably two, but anyways, 812 points. That's my number.
Yeah, great pick. And I will say, I didn't think back in 2011 that when they took Mark Scheifele with the first ever pick in this franchise's history, that we'd be here talking about him tied for the franchise record in points. So what a career it's been. Committed to Winnipeg his whole career. He's going to be a Jet for life. And look for him to break this, hopefully on Saturday night in front of the home crowd against a Central Division rival in the Nashville Predators. That would be very, very cool. My standout stat of the game, and I talked about how this was a smothering defensive performance from the Jets, and there was really buy-in from all four lines and all three defense pairs. My standout stat of the game is that the Winnipeg Jets only allowed 2 shots on goal against in the third period. When Philly's pressing, they're down 4-1 for the majority of that third period with Mark Scheifele scoring early. The Jets just didn't give them any space on the ice and kept them to the outside. And only 2 scoring chances for Philly as well. No high danger chances, only 6 shot attempts. And there was even an empty net sequence in there where, usually it's just shooting gallery from the opposition. So really impressive stuff from the Winnipeg Jets in the third period, holding on to a lead to only hold the Flyers to, again, 2 shots on goal, 2 scoring chances, none of them high danger, only 6 shot attempts. This is what the Winnipeg Jets were doing last season, but they had a lot more firepower doing it. They had Dylan Samberg, they had Adam Lowry, but for them to do it early in the season, get to their structure and shut down the Philadelphia Flyers in the third period and hold on to that lead, really, really impressive stuff from the Winnipeg Jets in the third and their defensive structure. So that was our standout stat of the game for the WST post-game reaction. Let us know if you found a stat online that you particularly enjoyed. Let us know in the comments down below. Now, let's get to this upcoming game, Saturday against the Nashville Predators. We'll just do a quick word on what we're watching for coming up. Remo, the Jets are going to return home, take on a Central Division rival in the Nashville Predators, 6 o'clock, Hockey Night in Canada, Canada Life Center. From a Winnipeg Jets perspective or from a Nashville Predators perspective, what are you watching for on Saturday night?
Yeah, Nashville coming. They've been on this Canada road trip here, playing Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa. They lost 3-2 in overtime tonight to Montreal. Cole Caulfield scoring with 3 seconds left in OT. So they're kind of at the end of a road trip here. So I'm looking forward to the Winnipeg Jets just to play the same way they did tonight. And, they should be able to pick up a win against Nashville. Mark Scheifele, a lot of eyes on him for breaking the franchise record. I think Jonathan Toews as well. Didn't get on the score sheet tonight, but you look at face-offs, when you're missing Adam Lowry, how about Jonathan Toews going 8-2 in the dot?
Nice. That
is something the Jets haven't have that. And what's his record the last 2 games now? Well over 80%. So pretty impressive stuff. But you'd like to see him score, his first goal as a Jet in front of the fans on Saturday. So I think a lot of eyes continuing to be on number 19, Jonathan Toews. So I'll say that.
Yeah, that's a great pick. The Nashville Predators 2-1-2 so far this season, 6 points in 5 games. The Jets have only played 4, and they're 3-1. I'm going to be watching for. You brought up Jonathan Toews. I'm going to go to another Jet that's new this season, and Gustav Nyquist. I thought he's been better game by game, and the same can be said about Jonathan Toews and even Tanner Pearson, all of these new guys adjusting to the system. I thought Gustav Nyquist was great tonight, very poised with the puck, had a few strong back checks as well. And I didn't know that Gustav Nyquist really had, the two-way club in his bag. I knew he was an offensive, skilled middle six producer, but he had a few strong back checks, a few strong defensive plays in this game as well. So I'm going to be locked in on him to see if he can continue that against the Nashville Predators on Saturday night. Well, Remo, this was an absolute blast having you on the WST post-game reaction. Thanks for joining me. And again, Saturdays, no post games. So this Saturday against Nashville, we won't have a post game. We advise you to just tune in Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Listen, I will go live. WST Sunday Live, 9 a.m. right here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel. So for Michael Remis, I'm Connor Hrabchak. Thank you so much for watching the WST post game reaction as the Jets defeat the Flyers 5-2 on Thursday night.